and go through things as we go. But I kind of anticipate about an hour or so. I definitely have a lot of information to share. And forgive me if my brain kind of dies out on you guys. I don't know how many people know, but if my brain dies out on you, totally forgive me, because I've been up since about 5, and I did not sleep very well last night because my son had an unexpected surgery today. So we had to be there by 6:15, and it's 30 minutes away. So we had to get up pretty early to get down there, and thankfully he's doing well. He's sleeping right now, so I kind of have that minute, but it was very last minute and very unexpected. So if my brain just kind of like dies out on me, just forgive me as we go. But I'm going to do my best to stay focused. Thankfully he's doing well, so I don't have crazy concerns, but we'll give it just a couple more minutes, another minute or two here, and then I'll go ahead and get started. Hi, Lisa. So we've got a few other people popping on. Liliana, oh, that's a beautiful name. I love that name. So Liliana, we got Lisa, Jennifer, Carey. Hey, ladies. So excited that you're here. If you have questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. I may, like halfway through, go through and see if there's any questions so far, but I'll definitely check at the end to see if there's any questions. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions on any part of this webinar at all. But I will go ahead, let's go ahead and get started, because I'm going to be recording this. So there will always be a, oops, I forgot to close my, hold on just a second. Forgot to open my screen back up. So anyways, I'm going to be recording this. So there will be a link that will go out. So if you have to leave early, or if for anybody that pops on late, you'll be able to watch the replay. All right, so now I'll share my screen and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so this presentation, I'm going to go through a lot of different things today. And primarily, I want to talk a lot about what some of the things that I've learned over the course of this disease and the craziness that has been, that I have dealt with since I started this whole thing. And this has been a really long road for me, but it's been one of those things where, gosh, I'm over the course of a couple of years, I have really learned some eye-opening and mind-boggling things about this disease. And it's insane how much of it leads back to food in some way, shape, or form. So that's really what I want to talk about today, is just some of the big pieces. There's no way I would have time to go through everything, but I want to go through a couple of the really, really big ones today. And kind of help give you some ideas of where you can get started, what you can do to, get on track and feel better and things like that. So, and just kind of have a place to start and get going. So this is all about the unbelievable ways food connects to our thyroid disease. And it has been life-changing for me, along with a few other people that you'll actually see as we go through this. But literally, I have been able to remove medication from my life for hypothyroidism, because I now focus on food, and not just food, like, eating healthy, but like very specifically eating for thyroid health. And that's a big key component to this, because there's a lot of areas where even healthy food can be such a huge issue. So that's kind of a big part of what we're going to talk today. And there's a big thing here. And I don't think I put it in the webinar, but there's a big piece to this where this is stuff that's typically not discussed in your doctor's office. And there's a reason behind it. So something that's mind-boggling is doctors are not trained in nutrition. They are trained in medication. And this is kind of a big like, aha, that's why they're always prescribing meds. That's why medication is always the first answer, right? So it's kind of like a big aha moment there when you think about that. But literally, no joke, this is 100% fact. They get less than 20 hours worth of nutrition training in the entire 4 years of med school. That's insane. So their training is not in food. It's not in nutrition. That's what dietitians are. Their training is in medication. So I hope that kind of helps explain why many times, like, your doctor will even say this food's irrelevant, food's not going to change anything, your diet doesn't matter, and they don't even talk about food. So I hope that kind of helps cover that a little bit. So I want to give you kind of a heads up. I'm going to ruffle some feathers today, right? Like I'm probably going to go through a few details and some things that might shock you. And, I might I don't want to say slam the medical industry a little bit, but I will be talking a little bit about that as well. But I will probably ruffle some feathers. And I do this because I feel like at this stage of the game for me, I can boldly talk about this stuff and feel confident in everything that I'm saying because of how many lives that I've seen change because of it, because of all the facts and all the things that I've learned over the course of this 4.5 years. And I really feel like in the last maybe 2 years or so that I can speak confidently about everything that I'm going to discuss. So don't feel offended at any point in time if I say something where you kind of, feel gut wrenched or feel like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that, or, just don't take it to heart. I'm going to ruffle some feathers, but just know that I'm saying this from the heart. And these are all things that I just are so extremely important. And it's important that everybody know that they exist. So I do have to give you a full medical disclaimer. So first of all, I told you how I've gone off medication. I want to make it clear, not everybody can go off of medication. It's very specifically those that don't have a thyroid gland, those have been treated with radioactive iodine, or those who have had irreversible damaged tissue will always need medication in some way, shape, or form, right? So you might be able to reduce it or change it or adjust it. But those people are people who will always need medication. Now, when it comes to those who are just Hashimoto's or hypothyroid, I will say the majority of people, more often than not, people can go off of medication. So if you still have your thyroid gland, if it's just slow, if it hasn't been, treated with any form of radioactive iodine, things like that, then there's a good shot that you can go off of medication. But I want to tell you, do not ever do it without a plan in place. Do not ever do it without being monitored, all right? And also the other important piece is with or without a thyroid gland, the principles of nutrition still matter. So even if you're taking your pill and you have no choice but to take this pill, so let's say you don't have, a thyroid gland, but you're taking your medication every day, you will need medication for the rest of your life because you don't have a thyroid to produce it, right? But even with that medication, your body still has to use it the right way. And there's a lot of areas where food can interfere with that process. So I want you to be aware that with or without medication, with or without a thyroid, food, the nutritional principles of food and your thyroid health still absolutely matter. The other thing is I want to make it clear that I am not telling you to eliminate medication, all right? It's possible for a lot, but it can be dangerous doing it without a plan. And then I also want to, help you see that I'm also a certified nutritionist. I'm not a doctor, right? Make that clear, but I am a certified nutritionist, and I have been studying nutrition for the last about 5 years or so. And what I'm talking with you about today is literally everything that I've learned over the course of this last 5 years, and also the things that I've personally put in play that have completely changed my life. So this isn't just about, I read a small little article and oh my gosh, here you need to do this. That's not what this is about. When I spent, especially my first 2 years digging into this stuff, I dug deep. When I would find something, I didn't take that to heart unless I could find a clear medical publication that stated that, yes, this matched up, this made sense. And then when I would research and I would find all this information, any form of question that I would have, I would go digging to answer that question. So this is a lot of very deep digging and trying to figure out, like, when all these articles say this and that and this and that, and there's so much confusion, what does this actually narrow down to, and what does this truly mean? So that's part of what you're going to see today, and that's part of what I try to share over the course of my journey. So who's this for? This is for anyone who has hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, who wants to improve their symptoms, how they feel, and they want to kind of begin doing something on the natural side. It doesn't matter if you have a thyroid or not have a thyroid gland, either way. Those with medication or without medication, and those who even suspect thyroid issues. So first things first, did you know that there are a ton of additional issues that are connected to hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's? This is just a very small list, you guys. And I know that many of you are probably looking at this list thinking, oh my God, I have so many of those. And I did too. I will share my list with you later as we go, but I had many on this list. And unfortunately, every single one of these on this list can be contributed back to thyroid issues. Now, you can have these without having thyroid issues too, but when you have thyroid issues and you don't address them by your root cause, it leads to additional issues and it leads to additional problems. And this is just a list of the most common issues that come from that. So what's worse is that list of issues that I gave you just a moment ago, they are seen as individual problems by most doctors. They're not looked at as, okay, could there be a reason why you have insomnia? Is there another reason why you're diabetic? Is there another reason why you have high cholesterol? They're seen as individual issues, and most of the time you're given medication for each one of those individual issues. So over time, you end up on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different medications when everything could potentially lead back to a deeper root cause on what's actually happening. So as every cell in the body, you guys, needs thyroid hormone in order to function. So when that doesn't happen, all these different issues begin to happen. All right. So that's kind of what we're dealing with when we don't dig deeper and get to the root cause of our thyroid health. So I want to give you something to think about on this topic, right? So imagine that you go out and you step on a piece of glass, right? And you don't remove the glass. The little piece of glass remains in your foot, and you just take a pain reliever, okay? You take this pain reliever, more than likely you feel better. Everything's gonna be good. Probably won't even notice it, just as long as you continue taking that pill and that pain reliever every single day. But if you think about it over time, what's gonna happen to that wound? The wound's gonna get worse. Maybe it spreads. Maybe it begins to cause additional issues. Oh, but no big deal, right? Just change the dose. Take 2 pills instead of taking 1 pill, maybe change the type of medication that you're taking, different strength, different brand, right? Are you seeing a connection here? So imagine what happens over time with your foot when you're not removing that glass. Nothing improves in your foot until you actually remove that glass, right? So ladies, I want you to think of your thyroid function as the glass in your foot. That's essentially the exact analogy that we are dealing with when it comes to thyroid health. Your thyroid doesn't just magically slow down. There are so many different areas that lead it and kind of trigger it and cause it to slow down, all right? So when you get to the root and you remove that glass, it allows your symptoms to improve, it allows your health to improve, and your quality of life to improve. But how do you do this, right? Like, how do you know what your root cause is? And I'm not gonna lie, it's totally not easy. But the thing is, there are so many different root causes that all lead back to food as the ultimate root cause, which is why this is where you begin. This is why food is such a huge area. And this is why this needs to be your focus, because there are so many different areas that ultimately lead back to food. So hopefully that makes sense to you, and it'll make even more sense as we go. So my goal, I have a couple goals for this web class. So my first goal is to help give you some of the biggest lessons that I've learned over the years, and to help you see some of the big connections that food has on our disease, and understand that a pill is not always the right answer and rarely the only answer. All right. I know that's a big statement. I know. I get that. And I also want to give you a few places to begin with nutrition to kind of help you start making changes to your health. And you can just start doing these basically immediately. So I want to give you some insight on that as well. So, hey, Miss Sue, who are you? So let me tell you a little bit about me, how I got here, who I am, what I do, all this craziness, right? So I am a mom. I'm a mom of 2, wife of 1, and I have an amazing little golden retriever. He's just the funniest little goofball. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably see him often, especially every morning. He does this crazy morning roll after he eats. He doesn't like it when food gets on the side of his mouth. So he will literally just roll on the carpet to dry his mouth. Where we use a napkin, no, he uses the carpet. So he does this funny little morning roll. It's hilarious. So I put that on Instagram stories all the time, but he's hilarious. And I swear he's truly not actually a dog. I'm pretty confident he's one of us in human form somehow. But anyways, he's awesome. So my health goes back quite a ways, actually, and I can trace things back to even my early 20s, dealing with issues that were part of hypothyroidism, but I was never being tested at that point. My mom does have it, so I kind of in my head always thought that it would hit me eventually. Had no clue the connection to food, had no clue, something would trigger it, had no clue my habits mattered, none of that. It was just one of those where I assumed that genetics would basically cause me to immediately have hypothyroidism at some point in time. And I'm going to show you why that's actually not the case. So there was a time though, in 2005, I was diagnosed with diabetes, and that's kind of the big area of what started my journey. And I was pregnant with my kids, and they put me on medication. That was an absolute disaster. I was a bad patient and went off of it on my own. And I started to research. That was kind of like the beginning of my nerdiness of food, right? So, and it was small at the time. It was very, very small. I just needed to figure out how to stay off that medication because it was horrible. My body just did not deal with it very well. And unfortunately, it's a common side effect of that medication called metformin. But it was horrible. I literally could not leave my house without having to go to the bathroom, if you get my drift. So it was quite horrible, and I knew I just could not live that way. So I was able to kind of hold off and straighten out my blood sugars a little bit, but I didn't understand or even know that my thyroid was actually a big part of causing those blood sugars to be off. So I was able to make enough of a change that I improved it where my doctor didn't nag me about medication. So if you fast forward a little bit, I had high cholesterol. That was another one where she tried to push medication. I actually said no in that case, but my cholesterol was way off for many years, and it was due to my thyroid health. I had debilitating heartburn that actually started in my early 20s. That one's a really long story, so I won't tell you that one, but I do on my Instagram stories, or excuse me, in IGTV, I do have my story about heartburn. So if you want to hear that, you can go to IGTV and listen to that story because it's pretty like, oh my gosh. So low stomach acid is another trigger for hypothyroidism, and that was definitely one of my root causes. So something to know about this journey is most of the time you will have multiple root causes, and most of the time you're going to have multiple health issues or symptoms that are due to your thyroid gland. So I hope you kind of see both sides of it. You'll have multiple symptoms that are due to your thyroid health. You'll have multiple root causes that are leading to your thyroid slowing down. So that was absolutely the case for me as well. But now I've been medication free for almost 4.5 years now. And I mean, I have energy. My hair has all grown back. I had receding hair horribly. It was so bad. I never wore it in a ponytail because I didn't like the way it looked because of it. It was quite awful. But I'm the strongest that I've literally ever been. I work out pretty much every day, unless my son has surgery, and then I don't. But anyways, so I mean, everything in my life has changed. My outlook on life, my energy, the brain fog has lifted. My skin's no longer dry. I mean, just so many things in so many areas of my life that have just completely changed because of this. So that's kind of a snapshot of where my journey comes from. And then here's the list of what my issues were going into, my hypothyroidism. So for me, when my thyroid slowed down, this is a big part of where my symptoms lied and where the additional issues that I had because of it. So my debilitating heartburn started in my early 20s before I was hypothyroid. But understanding thyroid health now, my heartburn and taking acid reducers for a really long time actually was one of my triggers leading me to hypothyroidism. So and if you trace that back to food, that actually goes all the way back to my early 20s and can be entirely traced to food. So same with diabetes, that was entirely nutrition related. My high cholesterol completely cleared up once I got my thyroid health on track. IBS has been on track since my thyroid's been good. And IBS is an area that's connected to hypothyroidism as well. So if you have any form of gut issues, immediately know that you need to make your gut happy. That's a topic today, actually. So I was depressed, awful anxiety. And then a lot of the symptoms that I had severe dry skin, my hair was falling out like crazy, brain fog. I seriously could not think straight to save my life. I have horrible weakness and fatigue. And one of them that's not listed on here was insomnia. That was a really, really bad one for me as well. So after years of misery, I discovered that the little pill that I was taking that I took for 3 years prior to going off of it was not actually fixing anything. And the problem is that your thyroid pill is a hormone replacement only. That is it. That is all it is. It is simply a hormone replacement, and it replaces the hormone that your thyroid is not making. It does nothing else. It does not fix your gut. It does not fix your liver. It does not fix low stomach acid. It does not fix food, blocking your thyroid gland from working. It does not fix any of those areas. It replaces a hormone, and that's it. So your answer with hypothyroidism, in the majority of cases, I would say almost every single case, always lies somewhere in that why. Why is it slowing down? That's where you're going to find your answer. And it's not always food. But the majority of root causes lead back to food in some way, shape, or form. And I can tell you that it is absolutely not genetics. Genetics is a predisposition. It's not a cause. It means that you're more prone and more susceptible to becoming hypothyroid or getting Hashimoto's, but something must actually trigger and lead your thyroid to physically slow down. And that something can be a lot of different things, all right? And as I've mentioned a few times, the leading cause of those somethings can all be traced back to food and connected to food in many, many different ways, which is why we start here, because it's kind of the biggest area. And then while there might be a lot of different areas that connect to that food and a lot of different, spaces on, what it is that food is doing, because food, and you can trace it back to food in so many different ways, that's where you always want to begin. So what are these some things that this could be, right? Gluten and gut health, nutrient deficiencies, proper balanced macros, liver health, toxins, low stomach acid, viruses, stress, adrenal fatigue, enzymes, healthy fats, water, damaging foods, foods that inhibit the function of your thyroid gland, even pregnancy, which I did not list on here and should have. But there are so many different somethings that can trigger your thyroid to slow down. We are going to talk about the top the three that you see in pink, the gluten and gut health, nutrient deficiencies, and proper balanced macros. Those are the big three that we're going to talk about today, because I feel like those are kind of like the core of really what can help you boost how you feel and have a really good place to start. And when you have that solid foundation in those three areas, you can start building on it in all the other areas. All right. All right, so here's the thing. I want to share just a couple of success stories with you. I'm not the only one that has seen massive change by concentrating on food and eating for thyroid health. So I'll give you just a minute. You can read these. I won't read them out loud to you, but these are just a couple of people who are in our community that have seen some really major, amazing changes. And this is just a couple. I've got a few more to share with you later on. But you can really see such major shifts in your health, and it's not overnight. I was not an instant success story. For me, it took 6 months before I really saw a major change. So now that I have found those root causes and I've found that method of, okay, this is what I need to do to remain off of medication, I have to stay consistent with it. I have to remain consistent. But now with the knowledge that I have, I can continue moving forward. And if something else is going to trigger, like if I catch a virus, like a major virus, like Epstein-Barr, for example, let's say that's a virus that I pick up, I can start to understand that, okay, I can pick up on these signals of my thyroid slowing down and start immediately thinking that something is going on, Lyme disease, right? Or if I have some dental work done and I have mercury in my mouth, and all of a sudden my thyroid symptoms come back, that can trigger me to think, okay, maybe it's the toxin and the mercury and the metals in my mouth that are causing this issue, and I can look to address it. So this really comes down to finding your root cause, addressing those root causes, getting where you need to be, and then adding to it and having that knowledge to prevent it from happening again as you continue forward. So some amazing stories here. I love these women. They're just incredible. So who can this work for? All these concepts. It can work for those on medication, those without a thyroid, those who suspect thyroid issues and just want to try to take a natural approach, those with Hashimoto's, and those who are hypothyroid. So really anyone that's looking to find natural ways to help them feel their best. This is, as much as I want to tell you, this will take you off medication. I can't legally tell you that, but I can tell you that this could be, if that's a goal you have, definitely do not do it without being medically monitored. But if that's a goal you have, these are definitely principles that can help lead you down that path to get where you want to be. All right, so here's the big 3 facts that we're going to be discussing today. Fact number 1, the 3 huge reasons why gluten needs to be avoided. I did not take gluten seriously until I physically understood these 3 reasons. Once I uncovered like the 3 big, oh my gosh, that's what gluten can do to me, I took it serious. And it's hard and it can be confusing and it's a rough road getting there sometimes for many. But I'm telling you, it's so worth it. And when you understand the concepts of why, it can really help you stick with it. So I'm going to show you like how it affects our gut and the connection that it has to leading to possible destruction on our thyroid gland. Fact number 2, we're going to talk about common deficiencies and how our thyroid can't function correctly without several critical nutrients that it has to have to even work, right? We think this thyroid gland is just in there just pumping stuff out. Well, it actually needs stuff to help it work. So if we're deficient in any of these nutrients, it can slow things down. And then we're going to talk about how dieting leaves holes in your nutrition and why balanced macros should be a must when you're looking at creating a long-term sustainable lifestyle that's dedicated to thyroid health. All right, so let's jump right in. The big 3 reasons, and I think this might blow your mind if you have never seen any of my discussions on gluten before, if you've never dug into it, I think these might really blow your mind. But these are the 3 big reasons why gluten needs to be avoided, how it affects our gut, and the connection that it has on leading to possible destruction of our thyroid gland. You guys ready? I think, let me see if I can find, just real quick, make sure that there aren't any, I have my little thing in my way here. Just double check that we don't have any questions so far. All right, perfect. I think we're good. All right, so let's get moving. Oh, do I need to go back on my screen? There we go. All right, reason number 1, the big chain of events. You guys paying attention? I hope you're watching and ready for this, right? This is a big chain of events, okay? So first I'm going to show you the big overall picture, and then we're going to go through and kind of break each one of them down just a little bit. So this big chain of events, when you consistently eat gluten and your gut begins to kind of break down and start having issues, typically this all happens long before you even realize or know that there's an issue. So how does this even happen, right? What's this big chain that I'm talking about? So it begins with gut inflammation. You're eating this gluten, your gut is struggling to break things down. It leads to gut inflammation, which then leads to intestinal permeability, which I'll explain that in a moment. Then it leads to vulnerability to gut autoimmunity like IBS, celiac, things like that. Then it can lead to vulnerability to non-gut autoimmune diseases like Hashimoto's. It can lead to damaging to the gut biome, and then it leads to gastrointestinal symptoms, finally starting to see something actually happening or physically getting symptoms from it. Then it can lead to brain symptoms like brain fog, right? Things slowing down, and then beyond that, even skin issues. So let's break things down just a little bit. So it starts off with gut inflammation. So you're eating this gluten, your gut struggles to break things down, right? The protein, it's the protein that's inside of gluten. It's called prolamins. There's a couple of different ones that are down inside that grain. And your gut struggles, like it's kind of a natural protein that's hard to digest for most people. So when you start to have difficulty breaking things down, right? You're eating it over and over and over again, and your gut just starts to begin to struggle. And you start having trouble breaking things down. It leads to this gut inflammation, and it's due to that difficulty in digesting those foods, right? And this begins to trigger an immune response because your body and your immune system is seeing like, oh, okay, wait, there's something wrong with the body. I need to go fix it. All right, so this is kind of where we start off, but you have no clue anything's even happening at this point. So you continue to just eat gluten grains, every single day or, daily, whatever part of your diet, right? So this leads to intestinal permeability. So your gut becomes inflamed, and the intestinal permeability is basically like the gut wall starts to kind of break open, and it leads to things leaking through, like particles leaking through that gut wall, and they get into your body and they're not supposed to be there. So we're talking like food particles and toxins, things like that. But it's basically allowing those particles to leak into the bloodstream when they're not supposed to be there. Rather than the gut breaking things down and expelling it like it's supposed to, it's actually leaking into the body, right? So this gets to leaky gut. And I'm sure many of you have probably heard of that. But as you continue to eat gluten, you continue to accelerate this process. But still, in most cases, you have no idea anything's even happening yet, right? So this leads to vulnerability to gut autoimmunity. So it kind of breaks things down to the point where your immune system is saying, oh, there's a problem. So I'm going to create some antibodies to help fix this problem. And, your gut's continuing to leak, your immune system starting to respond, and, it's trying to kind of fix that problem, right? So we start getting into some gut issues, like a little bit of IBS and some celiac, things like that, and just kind of seeing a few minor digestive issues that are starting to kick in, right? Now this continues to lead to vulnerability to non-gut autoimmune disease. And this is things like Hashimoto's or Graves' disease even. But it leads to, additional issues that cause additional stress on the body. And it can trigger all kinds of different things like your thyroid issues, type 1 diabetes, fibromyalgia, arthritis, autoimmune liver disease, and even like your additional skin diseases, along with type 2 diabetes and obesity, because it's affecting your blood sugars. So all of these now non-gut autoimmune systems autoimmune diseases are starting to slowly develop. Do you kind of see how things start to kind of progress just a little bit, I hope? This then, now we're starting to kind of break down the gut biome, because we continue to eat gluten. We don't really know that this is an issue. We just continue to eat these grains, and your gut now continues to struggle breaking things down. So, we start to destroy the gut flora, the good bacteria that's in there that breaks down that food in order to expel it. And when you break that down, you affect your hunger signals. It affects your nutrients, how well you're going to absorb nutrients. Now you're leading yourself to nutrient deficiencies. So it adds all kinds of different things. And as you break that down, it stimulates even more and more negative reactions as you go, right? So finally, we're starting to kind of see some bigger symptoms kind of kicking in, right? So we're starting to see things on the outside. So maybe we're getting a little gassy, maybe we're constipated, heartburn, pain, bloating, gas. I mean, all of those things, even painful joints from the inflammation, stinky stools. All of those different things are now gastrointestinal symptoms that we are starting to visually see. And this is something that has been, compiling over time. So I don't want you to think this happens overnight. This is something that happens over time. And if you're asking me how long, I couldn't even tell you. I mean, it could be something that's months. It could be something that's years and years and years and years. And it's just kind of led you up to that point. So we're all a little bit different, but it is something that happens over time. So additional brain symptoms, so brain fog and fatigue. So now you start getting really tired, you start seeing additional symptoms. And in most cases, we don't connect this to anything, right? So we might be experiencing digestive issues, but we contribute it to, I drank last night, or I had I ate bad last week, or maybe my diet is just off, or, I'm not eating enough fiber. So you just kind of start contributing it to all these other things. And then you're tired and you have this brain fog and you're like, oh my gosh, then I'm just going to contribute it to being a busy mom. And, I'm just tired because I work so many hours, right? We start contributing to these other things, not realizing that there is a root cause and additional reason why a lot of these things are happening. So we continue to eat gluten, and the process continues to develop a little bit over time. And so as that progresses, we increase that inflammatory response. We increase the chance of getting other issues like dementia and Alzheimer's disease as we age and get worse, and our anxiety and depression gets worse. That continues to progress. And if you think about it, every one of those things we tend to look at separately. I'm so depressed, right? I'm just tired. I'm my anxiety. That's just me. We see it as an individual thing in a lot of cases, when in fact, it's really not the case. Even skin issues. I talk to a lot of people who have a lot of really bad red, itchy patches and blisters and serious skin issues. And I'm telling you, it is so often led back to our gut health. It's not even funny. So if you experience and you have skin issues, you need to address your gut health, and you really need to look at that. The lotions and the best lotions in the world are not going to address it if it's coming from something internal, which the majority of the time it is. So I want you to really start thinking about that, right? So here's that big picture again of what it is. So we went through each one of these individually. So I hope you can kind of see that chain of events that continues to happen, right? Because this big chain of events actually leads us to our reason number 2. Which is mistaken identity. And you guys, this one's nuts, right? So remember, kind of keep in mind that chain of events that we just went through, because this leads us and takes us into this piece here, mistaken identity, right? So we've developed this nasty chain of events. Our gut is leaking. Our immune system is going haywire, trying to fix our gut, right? Because all these things are happening. All these things are wrong. And your immune system wants to fix it. It's trying to fix it. And it does that by creating these antibodies. And antibodies are what the immune system creates when it wants to fix something in your body. Doesn't really matter what it is, but when it wants to fix something, it creates antibodies in order to fix it. And when it comes to Hashimoto's, or I should say specifically in this case, the gliadin protein that's found in the grains, they create these anti-gliadin proteins or antibodies in order to basically attack those particles that are floating around in the body. And it's trying to fix and get rid of all of those particles and toxins and things that are not supposed to be there, right? So antibodies are blood proteins that are produced in response to counteract a specific antigen. Antibodies combine chemically with those substances which the bodies recognize as alien, like bacteria, viruses, foreign substances in the blood and things like that. And it's designed to basically get it out of the body and get rid of it so that it can fix the body. So this is why if you are diagnosed with Hashimoto's and you have antibodies, that's what those antibodies are. It's your immune system creating them so that it can go out to the body to find all of the bad guys, all of the bad stuff, and get rid of it and get it out of the body. That's what those antibodies are doing. So the secret to Hashimoto's is getting those antibodies down. How do we get the antibodies down? We address it by the root cause, and we start looking at what's causing the antibodies. Why are they there? They aren't there to just magically be there. They're there for a reason. So if you address that reason on why they're there, you reduce those antibodies, right? All right. Excuse me. Did I finish that one off? Okay, yeah. So that's why the antibody's there. It's there to, basically attack all the bad guys and try to, fix everything. So the immune system continues to become more and more stressed, right? Do you kind of see how this is continuing forward, right? So the immune system continues to become more and more desensitized about what's, bad and what's not. So because it's firing everything off. It's just like, oh my gosh, all these crazy things are happening. And it's just firing off these antibodies, trying to fix it, right? It becomes very, very stressed. And this is what's leading us to our mistaken identity, all right? On a molecular level, those proteins found in gluten grains, they're prolamins, but there's different prolamins that belong to that group, right? So gliadin is the most popular. So those proteins that are found in the gluten grains, they look almost exactly like our thyroid gland. So on a molecular level, they look almost exactly identical to our thyroid gland. You see where I'm going with this? So the immune system is stressed out. The immune system is going crazy, and it's tagging all of the negative bad guys that are in our body. And it accidentally tags our thyroid gland because it looks so similar to that molecular structure of gluten. And when it attacks our thyroid gland, that is how our thyroid gland then begins to become attacked by mistake, which triggers it to slow down. So I want to give you a little bit of an analogy here. So imagine you have two apples, right? You've got a red one and you have a green one. They smell the same, they taste the same. The only molecular difference between these two apples is their color. Now put yourself in a dark room. You're holding these two apples, right? You've got one in each hand. Someone just hands them to you and they tell you it's okay to eat one of them, but the other one's poisonous and could kill you. What do you do? Would you eat either one of them, or would you destroy both of them? So that's kind of what we have going on here, right? So your thyroid gland and these gluten proteins, they look the same, they taste the same, they smell the same, everything about them seems the same. So yes, it must be one of the bad guys, right? Your immune system is so stressed out that it's accidentally attacking your thyroid gland by mistake. All right. So I hope that makes sense, right? You guys still with me so far? All right, so this moves us on to reason number 3. And this is kind of a weird one, right? Like I didn't expect to uncover this one, but this one's kind of a crazy one, and it's bromine. You may or may not know what this is, but I bet you will as we go and I teach you a little bit more about this. So first, let's define what bromine is. Bromine is a natural chemical that's found in earth and seawater, and it's used in a lot of different things, especially like baked goods, because it's told by food companies that it increases the elasticity of like breads and things like that. So that's why they use it a lot of times in baked goods. So the first thing you need to know about this is our thyroid literally cannot function without iodine. Keep that in mind. Our thyroid must have iodine in order to function. And so we get iodine naturally just from what we eat, okay? So the biggest problem with bromine that we have is if you're not eating a diet that's adequate in iodine and you're taking in way too much your bromine and iodine actually compete with each other with the thyroid gland. And so when you don't have enough iodine, or if you have excess bromine, your thyroid is going to absorb bromine instead. So why is this an issue? There's 2 reasons. Issue number 1 with that is that bromine is a thyroid disruptor, and it actually prevents our thyroid from working correctly. So iodine, it must have in order to work. Bromine actually slows things down. You see that? Reason number 2 is bromine actually can lead to deficiencies. And if you have an iodine deficiency, it leads to all sorts of issues. So it leads to increased risk of breast cancer, obviously thyroid gland issues like a goiter. The iodine deficiency is one of the biggest reasons for getting a goiter, but also other cancers and many other issues as well. But it leads to additional deficiencies. And if you are iodine deficient, then your thyroid's not even going to work. And then if you're eating a lot of baked goods and foods and, you know, you're in all these different ways taking in a lot of bromine, then your thyroid's absorbing a lot of bromine, which is leading to more and more deficiencies, more and more slowing down of your thyroid gland. Does that make sense? Your mind blown yet? So this overload of bromine actually has a name. It's called bromide dominance, right? So aside from the effects that it has on our endocrine system, which is part of where our thyroid gland is, bromine is actually toxic when we have too much of it. Now this means a lot. This doesn't just mean going to the restaurant and having a roll. This means consistently having a lot of bromine in your diet, or just exposure, because we get it from a lot of areas, which I'll share with you in just a moment. But it affects a lot of other areas too. So if you're taking in, you're exposed to a lot of bromine, then it actually can start to affect your central nervous system and start triggering some psychological symptoms like paranoia, and all different, other different things that can, cause you to be more and more depressed, because it kind of slows things down that much more. So I hope that makes sense, right? So here's an idea. Look at all of these places where we find bromine. So it's not just in like what we eat, right? So it can be in water. We have well water, and I actually had my husband test our well water just to make sure that we didn't have bromine in our water. Thankfully, we did not, because believe it or not, the water that you drink matters to your thyroid health. It's crazy. But the chemicals that are found in water can do the same thing, and it can cause your thyroid to actually slow down. So like chlorine, a lot of different things that are found in there. Fluoride. So if you live like in the city, most cities will add fluoride to their water, and fluoride and chlorine actually slow your thyroid down. So water definitely matters, but tap water and plastics and tons of personal different products and pesticides, baked goods. So basically anytime you go to a restaurant and you're having those rolls, you're pretty much ingesting bromine. And it's because of that stuff that they add to it, because of the elasticity. And so we see it in the form of potassium bromate. And you guys have probably seen that word because it's in pretty much any form of like baked goods that you'll see. So it's in soda, it's in different medications, it's in, fire or certain fabrics and carpets and upholstery that are fire retardant. It's even in like hot tubs and swimming pools. It's absolutely crazy, the exposure that we have. I need to take a drink of water. Give me just a moment. My throat's starting to dry out. All right, so if you have an excess of bromine, what kind of things can this lead to? Skin rashes, acne, loss of appetite, abdominal pain, fatigue, the metallic taste. Has anybody ever had that before, the metallic taste in your mouth? Cardiac arrhythmias and different things like that. So we can't really avoid bromine altogether because it comes naturally from the earth and seawater, remember? But we can limit our exposure, and by avoiding gluten high gluten foods, that is one big way that we are able to reduce that down. All right, now we're moving on to fact number 2. Does anybody have any questions about what we just went through? I'll take a quick peek at the chat just to be sure. So Jennifer, did I answer your question? How do we know if we are consuming bromine? When I showed you the picture that had all of the foods and exposures on there, did I answer that question for you? It's basically in the ingredients, and most of the time it's going to be in that potassium bromate form. So most breads and anything like that are going to be part of it. Okay, excellent. Any other questions? I'll leave this up for just a second, because we're going to move into fact number 2, and this is about the deficiencies and how deficiencies can affect our thyroid gland, because there are critical nutrients that we must have in order to help our thyroid work. And here's the thing, here's what's crazy. This next picture that you're going to see is going to kind of blow your mind a little bit. So let's go ahead and pop that up, because I'm just going to kind of leave this up here for just a second. I want you guys to review this and really see this. Your thyroid gland does not function on its own. There is a signal that begins in your brain, and then it continues down to your thyroid gland, and then it continues down into your gut and your liver, where it's converted, and then it continues on into your body where it has to be bound to proteins and used, right? So your thyroid gland is not on its own. It is not doing this job all by itself. There are so many different areas that affect our thyroid, our hormone production. It's not even funny, right? So I want you to kind of see this path of where everything starts. And then I have, on the left side, you can see I have some of the nutrients that are needed to actually, contribute to that process. So the signal of everything, it's kind of like this cycle, or like this axis of everything that's working, right? So you can kind of start and maybe begin in the brain and the hypothalamus. It creates TRH, right? And this TRH is basically the detection that your body is low on thyroid hormone. So the moment that your thyroid hormone starts to drop, there should be a signal in your hypothalamus that says, hey, we need to start this process of making hormone. Our body needs it, right? And you need zinc in order for that release of that TRH correctly. So zinc is a very important nutrient that you need to have, or mineral that you need to have. And so once this detection takes place with TRH, it moves down to your pituitary gland, and that's where your TSH. I know all of you guys know what that is, because TSH is like the one thing that's tested like all the time, TSH and T4. So now your pituitary gland is like, oh, hey, I hear you, hypothalamus, right? Like, I hear you. I'm going to go ahead and create this hormone to tell the thyroid gland to start making the stuff. Let's start cranking this out, guys, right? So the pituitary gland now starts creating TSH. And in order to do that and actually produce it, you need to have enough protein in your diet. You need to not be magnesium deficient, which magnesium is really, really important. And it's a common deficiency among us. But you need to have enough magnesium, enough B12, and again, enough zinc in order to even produce that TSH. We haven't even gotten to our thyroid gland yet, you guys, right? We're just heading that direction. So now we have TSH, and it sends that signal to the thyroid gland. It's like, hey, hello, thyroid gland, you need to start making some hormone because we're getting low down here, right? We need some stuff. So now your thyroid gland's like, all right, I'll start making some hormone. And the majority of the hormone that it makes is T4. That's an important fact to remember. So it makes a little bit of T3, but the majority of what it makes is going to be T4, right? T4 is actually very, very weak. So it's a weak strength. So it's not enough for the body to even use it. That's an important fact to remember. So they consider it to be inactive just because it's very, very weak. It's not strong enough for the body to use. T3 is the hormone the body physically uses, right? But the thyroid gland creates both of those. It's just the majority of T4. So in order to make T4 and that tiny little bit of T3, you've got to have iodine, you've got to have B12, and you've got to have enough vitamin C. So you don't want to be deficient in any of those three in order for your thyroid to even kind of work. Iodine probably being the most important of those three. All right, so now we finally have some T4 and a tiny little bit of T3. So now we move to the next section where T4 is converted to T3. So we have this abundance of T4, right? And this tiny little bit of T3. So now the body has to take all of this inactive, weak strength T4 and convert it to T3. So in order to have that conversion process, you got to have enough selenium in your diet, and you've got to have enough vitamin A in your diet. That's very important. And the selenium is important with iodine as well. They kind of work hand in hand. That's a whole different topic, but they do work hand in hand. They're both important together. But anyways, so this conversion process, something important to know, actually takes place primarily in your liver. Some of it takes place in your gut. So guess what happens if your diet is off and your gut's a mess and your liver is overloaded? Due to how you eat, due to whatever is causing either of those things, right? A lot of times it comes down to food. I would say the majority of time it comes down to food in some way, shape, or form. So if your liver and your gut cannot convert that T4 to T3, any idea what happens? Your body doesn't even have a hormone to use. There's not enough T3 for the body to physically use. Now we start experiencing all these symptoms, right? All these things start happening because remember, every cell of the body needs that thyroid hormone. So now you're going to start experiencing all of these different symptoms because there's not enough hormone there for the body to physically use to do all these things and to, keep your organs alive and to have this gorgeous, luxurious hair, to have beautiful skin that's, nice and soft and not dry, to have proper brain function. So it starts affecting all of these different areas. And so then after you have that conversion process, you have this like binding process. So this T3, which is what the hormone the body uses. So you've got this T3. So now you have this like binding process, and the body has to carry it to all the cells. Do you see how this is far from just a thyroid disease, right? So you have a doctor here that tests you for, test your TSH and test your T4. First of all, if they're only testing those two things, are they really giving you a true picture of everything that's going on? No, they're basically testing the signal, and they're testing whether or not you have enough T4, okay? We're not finding out, do we have enough TRH to even, are we getting that signal? Is the hypothalamus getting that signal that we don't have enough, right? Are we converting correctly? Do we have enough T3 in our body? So we should be testing for that. Do we have too much reverse T3, which is basically like T4, it's inactive, body can't use it. Like all these different things. If they are not testing a full panel of labs, you don't have a full picture of what's going on. So if they're testing TSH and T4 and they're like, hey, you're fine, you're normal, everything looks great. And you're like, yeah, I don't feel so great. Like, why? Part of it starts with them testing this full panel of things to see, what's this big picture of what we have going on. And then that can help kind of lead you in the right direction. And ultimately, you can see, I hope, that every single one of these areas can be connected to food, because let's move on. I broke down each one of these nutrients that I just went through with you, and I showed you where you can get them in your diet. So this is kind of the first half. But if you look, this is all real food. And you guys, I know many of you are probably looking at this list and you're saying, hey, I'm sensitive to that food. I can't have that food. There are other foods that are also high. I just gave you like the highest, best ones in concentration. And if you can't have them, and if you're not getting enough, that's when we start to supplement, right? So it's really important to see that all of these nutrients that are needed to get from the point of, starting that signal in your brain to getting to the thyroid gland to producing the hormone, to getting to your gut and your liver to converting that hormone, to the binding process and carrying it through your body, all comes back to food. And are you getting the nutrients from what you're eating in order to allow that process to all happen, right? So if you can kind of see like everything here that we're looking at all comes down to food, right? And I gave you a bonus nutrient, which is thiamine. B1, vitamin B1. And this is, I gave you this one because this is kind of an important deficiency. It's not really specific that I have found to thyroid gland. It is very important for, overall health and even thyroid health as well, but I wouldn't consider it one of the critical ones that I've found. But a vitamin D deficiency can lead to a lot of awful symptoms that we experience. So that's why I wanted to share it with you, because I know we experience a ton of fatigue, right? Like when we are deep hypothyroid and our thyroid is just not working right, we have a ton of symptoms. And some of this can definitely be contributed to B1. So I wanted to share that with you as well and give you a few ideas of where you can start with beefing up your B1 intake, right? All right, so I hope that makes sense. We're on fact number 3. Sorry, my brain wanted to shut down for a minute. So those are the deficiencies. We're ready to move on to the next fact. Does that all make sense? Like, did those nutrients kind of like give you some ahas? Any questions about the nutrients and about those key pieces to kind of help take you from point A to point Z and kind of allow everything to work the way it's supposed to? So I don't see any other questions yet. Hopefully that means I'm doing a good job with explaining and I'm not too overly winded. Oh, great information. Thank you. I appreciate that, Jennifer. Thank you. I'll give it just a second. But I kind of hope, like, as we've gone so far, that you've kind of seen how, and the thing is, like, this is just what I kind of consider to be a foundation, just kind of like the core of it all. And it blows my mind that when we go to the doctor, they're just like, here's a pill, take this every day for the rest of your life. Have a good day, right? Like that's how it feels. And it's so frustrating because there's so much of it. And I was one of those people. I was 100% one of those people that I thought I was going to be on medication for the rest of my life. And my mom, when I was a kid, my mom would always tell me, you wait, you watch, you're going to be hypothyroid just like me because it's in your genetics. So when it gets you, there's nothing you can do about it. You're going to be on this pill for the rest of your life too. That is what I heard all the time as a kid. So it was kind of ingrained in my head that when when I became hypothyroid and my test came back, yes, you are hypothyroid, that I was just stuck. So even though prior to my diagnosis, I was, digging into food a little bit, and I was learning more, and I was trying to correct cholesterol and diabetes and all these different things, it did not even remotely occur to me to look at the hypothyroid side, because it was kind of ingrained in my brain that there was nothing I could do, because that's all I heard my entire life, right? It wasn't until I was on medication for 3 years and just miserable, no matter what they did. I mean, every 3 months they would change or adjust my medication in some way, without fail, every 3 months. Nothing ever worked. And I just had this moment where I'm just like, why is my medication not working? Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, I'm taking my medication the way I'm supposed to. Like, why is it not fixing me? Right. And that just kind of led me to, starting my research. And that's kind of how I uncovered all this. And so, all right. So anyways, I don't see any questions so far, so we will go ahead and move on. So fact number 3, this is how dieting can leave holes in your nutrition, and why balanced macros should be such a huge part to the road of creating a long-term sustainable lifestyle for thyroid health. And I want to preface this by saying, I know there's a ton of diets out there. I have followed every single one of them, and I'm going to share with you my experience and what I've learned and how it leaves holes in your nutrition with every single one of them, because I have followed all of them. And truly, balancing out those macros and getting rid of dieting is by far one of the most important things you can do. And then from there, if you have that balance in your life every single day, from there, it comes down to the specific food that you have in your diet as you go. All right, so let's talk about how dieting leads to, whoops, I gotta get back on my screen here. There we go. All right, so let's start off with eating too lean. So for a long time, and actually I will say that when I was at my most unhealthy, my diabetes, the high cholesterol, all of that was really, really, really at its worst was when I ate too lean. So everything that I bought was low fat. I did not eat any red meat. I avoided eggs. I wouldn't eat avocado. I wouldn't eat coconut oil, like none of that. Like, I ate very, very lean. Everything was low fat. I was terrified of fat. Oh my gosh, it was horrible. Don't be terrified of fat. Fat is good for you, healthy fat. But it leaves us vitamin deficient, because there's a lot of vitamins and minerals that actually need healthy fat in order to even be absorbed, right? And the additional part that goes with this is, if your gut is off, that's where your vitamins and nutrients are absorbed in the body, is from your gut. So if your gut's off and you have IBS, celiac, and a lot of gut issues, leaky gut, any of those things, you want to keep your gut happy. So if your gut is broken down in any way, shape, or form, you will also be nutrient deficient, because that's where everything is absorbed. So when you eat lean, vitamin D is a prime example. If you eat too lean and you don't have enough quality healthy fat in your diet, your body cannot even absorb vitamin D, because it has to have fat in order to be absorbed. And as you've seen from the prior slides, that you need to have a ton of these key nutrients. You've got to have a lot of that stuff in order to, have what you need for your thyroid to even work. And this is, your whole body needs this stuff to work, right? We are just specifically talking about our thyroid gland and hormone function. So we end up kind of starving our body and our organs of proper fuel when we're not getting enough fat in our diet. Here's a big one. And I hope I don't have anybody on here that's going to hate me after talking about this particular topic, but eating low carb can tank your T3 conversion. And this is one of the biggest mistakes I made over the course of my journey when I followed the keto diet. I can never recommend the keto diet for hypothyroid women. There are very, very, very few people who are hypothyroid who can handle a low carb diet. And it basically is shown to tank your T3 conversion, because there's like an overload process of glycogen that happens in the liver. And if your liver cannot convert that T3, your T3 drops, and you don't have a hormone for the body to even use. So my personal experience with it, I was fine with it short term. I did okay for about 2 months. So I was in around month 3. And all of a sudden, it felt like all of a sudden, and it was probably the course of maybe 2 weeks, I hit this horrible wall. Everything came flooding back. Like, I felt great in those first couple of months. And if you think about it, it's because I was avoiding a lot of the trouble foods. So if you're eating low carb, you're not eating gluten, right? You're eating completely different. You're not eating those grains. So there's a reason why I was feeling good. and why it was, you know, kind of worked early on in the process. But once I hit that wall, and I didn't have that T3 in my body to physically use, now I couldn't keep up. And so all of these horrible symptoms. So I started to recede again really, really badly. I literally lost my eyebrows. I had no eyebrows. I was so exhausted. It was not even funny. I could not make it through a workout because my muscles were just so weak. I lost my period, which took about a year to regulate again. I gained about 10 pounds, which felt like overnight. It was probably over the course of a few days, but I gained 10 pounds out of nowhere. And that was my big aha. That combined with my hair, like my hair was so thin, it was unbelievable. And it was coming out in clumps, and I didn't understand why. So that's what led me to kind of digging into like what's going on with me following keto. And that's when I discovered the issue that it has with converting your T3. So your T3 can truly tank. And it can be fine as like a short-term like jumpstart to your life. You know, if you just want, you know, something to follow kind of thing, it's fine as a short-term thing, but it's not a long-term lifestyle that I can ever recommend to hypothyroid women. And I say that because of my research and because of my personal experience with it. And I will honestly say, I actually enjoyed keto, and it does have its place in the world. There are people who absolutely can thrive on thyroid health, but those who have hormone issues and are hypothyroid, we are not one of them. So at least very, very, very few of us are. All right, so eating too many carbs, let's go the opposite direction. What's gonna happen if we have too many carbs in our diet, right? It's gonna leave our blood sugars too high. And here's the thing, blood sugars and thyroid health are highly connected. So your thyroid function and the hormones that come from that affect your blood sugars. When your blood sugars are off, it affects your thyroid function, and then it affects your blood sugars, and then it affects your thyroid. There's like this cycle that actually happens. So if you are hypothyroid, you pretty much automatically have issues with your blood sugars, that they kind of just really go hand in hand. So you will hear the words insulin resistant. You will hear the words type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetic. That was me. That was in 2005 when I was pregnant with my daughter. That was where things began. And so that was another one of my root causes with hypothyroidism. And then my thyroid was causing my diabetes. So you can see I had this cycle going on there. But your blood sugars are highly related to your thyroid health. And it's extremely important to keep your blood sugar stable when you are hypothyroid. You don't want to go on medication for it. It's always horrible. And type 2 diabetes is pretty much always related to nutrition. And it doesn't even mean that you eat bad. It just likely means that you're eating wrong. Now, if you know your diet's bad, then obviously that's your reason. But if you feel like, you know what, I eat pretty healthy, it could be that you're doing things wrong. So for several years before my official diagnosis, I feel like I ate really healthy. But the best way I can describe it is I was doing so much wrong. So I ate healthy food, but I did a ton of different things wrong. And all of it kind of contributed to where I was with my health. But anyways, I hope you can see the cycle. And, you know, it's just extremely important to really keep your blood sugars stable and to not have too many carbs. So you don't want the extremes, right? You want that balance. All right, so move on. Eating too much protein. Yeah, it's a thing. Believe it or not, eating too much protein is totally a thing. And it can lead you to a thyroid deficit, which can cause chronic low blood sugar. So we just talked about how that blood sugar connection is there with thyroid health. If you're eating too much if you're eating too much protein, it affects your liver function, and it can lead you to those chronic low blood sugars. So it can lead to being hungry all the time and kind of having that hangry feeling where you just instantly get like moody and angry and upset. And that feeling of your jitters, right? So that's your blood sugar being off. And you can have that with high blood sugars too, so that when you have those feelings and you've got the mood and you've got the crash of your energy and you've got the jitters and you feel hangry, like that hungry feeling instantly where you're like, oh my God, I've got to have food. That's a crash of your blood sugars. So if you have that rise or that spike in blood sugar and then you have the crash, you can feel that as well. And you feel those same things when you have chronic low blood sugars also. All right. And then there was the time where I did all of the healthy choice, all of the lean cuisine, all the 100-calorie packs. And you guys, these like diet processed foods should not be a staple. If it's something where you're choosing that over having McDonald's for lunch at work because you forgot to grab your lunch to bring it with you, that's okay. A once in a while thing is totally okay. But if they are part of your diet all the time, they are loaded with so many fillers and unhealthy ingredients that it can build up toxins in your body and actually lead to additional issues. So do you see the holes I hope you can kind of see that every single one of those have an issue for thyroid health. So if you're eating like wrong, right, it can leave holes in your nutrition and then lead to your thyroid slowing down, or your blood sugar is being off, which will then affect your thyroid health, or lead to your liver health being off, which then affects your T3 conversion. So I hope you can kind of see like all of these different areas and all of these holes that are left in your nutrition from dieting can affect your thyroid function. So what's the answer to all of this, right? Like to this fact number 3, and it's balanced nutrition. It's not having an extreme of too much or too little. It's having that proper balance. And I know there's a big question of, okay, what does balance even mean? Like, how do I even do that? Like, how much is this and what's a portion of that and all these good things. And if you kind of hang on and wait with me, I actually have some ways I can help you further. And I want to share with you the system that I personally use. And I literally follow this system. So I'll share it with you so you can see what it is. And if it's something that interests you, you can, jump on board and join us and do it with us. But I literally found like the perfect way to kind of take all of that crazy confusion out of it and help answer a ton of those questions on what is balance and how do I balance. And so from that point, you can now just concentrate on the food. So you have this system that lays out that balance for you. Now your job is simply concentrating on the food itself that you're using within that system, right? So if you kind of hang on, I will share that more information with you on that program. And then again, if it's something that you're interested in, we can, I'll show you how you can gain access to it and how you can join us and be part of that as well. So just a super quick recap of those 3 facts is, remember, there's 3 huge reasons why you need to have gluten out of your diet. Eliminating it improves your gut function, and it helps prevent those mistaken attacks, and it cuts back on that bromine exposure, all of which can help your thyroid health. And then remember, fact number 2, preventing deficiencies can help improve your thyroid function and provide all the necessary nutrients needed for proper hormone production and use. Remember, it goes through that cycle of using those hormones. And then fact number 3, eliminating dieting prevents those holes in your nutrition to further ensure that your thyroid and hormones have what they need to accurately be produced and physically used by the body. So I hope that makes sense. Real quickly, I will just double check. All right, no other questions. So we're doing good. Are you guys with me? Everybody hanging on so far? I hope nobody's asleep. I hope everybody is still like awake and intrigued and, feeling excited and loving what you're seeing so far. So I'm really excited about it. This stuff, I'm like nerded out on this stuff. I did for like the longest time. It's crazy. So does anybody kind of feel like this right now? Do you feel like I basically just took a fire hose in your face? Like anybody? I mean, if you're like, tell me in the chat if you're feeling like this and you're just kind of like, holy crap, I had like no idea. So let me know if that's how you're feeling, because I kind of feel like that's how I felt. I know when I was digging into all this and I was learning more, like I can't tell you how many, oh my gosh, are you kidding me, moments that I had throughout this entire process. I mean, there were a ton of those moments. It was really, really nuts. So if you think about it and you kind of break things down and you're like, what are a few of these things that you can do? What would it do for you? Like if you were to just put a few of these things in play and then start building on that over time, to work towards eating for your thyroid health, like how would things change for you? Like what would that look like in your life? I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's over 10 years ago, and I learned more from you in the last 6 months than the last 10. Aw, that's amazing, Lori. Thank you so much. It really is mind-boggling. And like the information that I share like within our groups and the women that are part of our community, I mean, I have tried, I hope you guys would agree, but I have tried to take the fluff out of it. And I've tried to just kind of give you straight up facts. And I'm not like just do this, do that girl. Like, I hope you can see through this webinar that I'm more of a explain it to you. Like, here's why, if you're avoiding gluten, know that what you're doing is amazing for your body. And here are the reasons why it's so important. Well, if I'm telling you you should have magnesium in your diet, here's why you want to have magnesium in your diet. It's great for your sleep too, by the way. Just a little side note. Yes, me too. I wish I could write down every word you say. Well, Lisa, I actually have, I have a way for you to get access to everything. So if you kind of hang on with me, I will share with you different options that you have to get access to all of this, plus like tons and tons more that I've like created. Like I've kind of been like a mass creator for the last, I don't know, 4.5 years. Like I said, when I say I've nerded out on this stuff, like I truly mean like I really have. And when I learn something new, I'm kind of like, ooh, how can I create something out of this to share it with our community and to share it with the world and share it with, Facebook and Instagram and all these different places. So, but if you kind of hang on, I will share with you different ways that you can get access to just all of this information plus a ton. So you don't have to write everything down. That would take a while. But anyways, I want you to really think about just the few tips that we've talked about today. Like if you were to change a few of those things, and if those made a small impact on your life and kind of led you and got you started in the right direction of, working towards for your thyroid health. And even if it didn't remove medication, even if you were one that, you couldn't remove medication, but it allowed your body to use that medication correctly because you did have to have it, right? So if you have to have this thyroid medication, if your body can absorb, convert, and use it the right way, don't you think that would actually help you feel better? It would help reduce symptoms. Doesn't that answer the question of why is my medication not working? So I talked to so many women who have had their thyroid removed or have had radioactive iodine, and they're like, I can't understand why. Like I started off feeling a little bit better, but I don't understand why medication's not working. Like I don't understand why I still have all these symptoms. And most of the time it's going to be because, your medication could be off too, but most of the time it's going to be because your body's just not using it right. Your body, you might be eating it or taking it, in the morning, but what if you're eating something that's preventing it from working right? What if you're blocking your body from using it correctly? What if your gut is off and you're not absorbing it the right way? What if your liver is overloaded and you're not converting it correctly? So there's all these different reasons that can be connected back to food that can be why your medication doesn't appear to be working the way that it should. So I hope it kind of makes sense, like whether you have your thyroid or not, whether you are required to stay on medication or not, whether you want to work towards being medication free, regardless of where you are on this journey, I hope you see how all of these pieces kind of lead back to how you're, even with or without medication, it leads back to food in some way and why things just may not be working the way you think they should be working. All right, so let's go on to the next here. So in your head, you probably are thinking, okay, this is great, but I have no idea where to begin or what to do, right? So if you're thinking, I know I was thinking this, like as I was learning all this, I'm like, what the crap? Like, I don't even know what gluten, I didn't even know what gluten was when I started this whole thing. I had no idea where to start. I didn't know, how to put things together. And so over time, I've kind of developed different ways of helping people that join us, of helping them build this foundation and helping them get that core of what they need to do and basically kind of expand on that. And I have a few different ways to help you with that. So this kind of leads and goes, back to 4.5 years ago when I started and I became that investigator and I had these moments and all of these epiphanies, and truly, honestly, it probably took me about 2 years to really feel confident in what I was learning and to really feel like I had a grasp on thyroid health. Like this was not like a short term, okay, I studied for a weekend and I'm ready to rock and roll. This, no joke, this was truly about 2 years, because as I would dig, and I, first of all, wanted to confirm what I just read and tried to understand. But then I also, every time I answered a question, it led me to more, or every time I answered one of my questions, it led to a dozen more questions. So this big problem started as I'm researching and digging and learning more. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, well that solves that problem. Well, now I have a dozen more questions that I need to answer. And I would go digging on all of those. So it was so overwhelming. There was so much information. And it took me a long time to kind of piece so many different things together. And I would just do things as I would learn them, right, as I would go. So I kind of created this system, and I have a few different ways where you can kind of take all of the knowledge that I learned in that 2-year time frame and even beyond, and kind of have that core of that information to give you a really solid jump start on where you need to be. So let's talk about those. Anybody want to review those? I know a few of you already know what those are, because we have a few of my challengers on here with us. So I know that they know what these are and how incredible they can be. But there's really 2 big different ways that you can be part of our community and join us and have additional information, the same information that we reviewed and beyond, food lists and ways and methods and all of this different stuff. So if you guys want to review that, just let me know and I just want to make sure that you're not tired of me yet. You're okay with talking a little bit more. And then I'll start kind of reviewing different things. And then if you have other questions, pop those on there as well. And I'll be more than happy to answer questions too. And as we go and continue on. All right, so method or option number 1 is I created, which I never in a million years would have ever imagined that I would do something like this. It's kind of incredible that I even have it. But I created this course on thyroid health. It's called my Hypothyroid Master Series. My brain's starting to shut down. Sorry, you guys. So this is option number 1. You can get access to my entire course. So all of the knowledge and everything that I've gained over the years, I've taken the fluff out of it, and I have condensed all the pieces of what I learned. Because, you know, if you go to one website, you might get one little key piece of information, but they don't explain anything. Like, they don't tell you. Like, they'll just say, okay, well, avoid these foods and maybe eat some of these foods and have these foods. Well, why? Why am I doing it? Why are you telling me I can't have that food? So why are you telling me to have it, right? Like, I'm sensitive to it, or I'm allergic to it, whatever the case may be, I can't have it. So now what do I do? Like, what does this even mean? Like, why are you telling me to do this? So I took like the fluff out of it, and I basically just put this together in a course. And it's just basically kind of straightforward, helping you understand so many of the key components and factors throughout this road that have completely changed my life. So this is the first option that you would have, is by going this direction. So I'll go through and I'll kind of explain to you everything that you're going to get, because I've created a ton of different resources over the years. So the first 2 things are going to be like different meal planners that I've created. And the one on the left, I know it says it's a 7-day sample meal plan, but you guys, there's like 50 different recipes in there. So, well, it says a 7-day meal plan because I have it broken out in like kind of a balanced nutrition method. And I have a different recipe for every single meal and snack for 7 days. So I'm not telling you you need to be like your own personal chef for 5 meals a day, 7 days a week, but I'm just simply giving you ideas. So there's a ton of different recipes and a laid out plan for you to kind of see like different ideas and different ways of how you can incorporate balanced nutrition and different recipes that go along with it. And then it's the same day. I have the 10-day thyroid booster that has 10 different recipes in it. So it kind of, you know, just gives you an idea of what kind of meals you can have to really give yourself a huge boost. So then I have a different set of resources that go with it. So the hypothyroidism handbook is kind of like a quick review. It's kind of a quick overview of a lot of the key components to hypothyroidism. And then I have this guide that has these incredible hypothyroid healing smoothies in it. So I can't remember how many are in there, maybe a dozen or so. But some really, really great, incredible smoothies. And then I have the thyroid supplement guide, which is just kind of breaks down and goes through different supplement ideas and different supplement options to help you on that road. And I'm not telling you go out into Amazon and specifically buy this particular one. What I'm basically telling you is, you know, these are the nutrients and this is what's really critical and what's important. And here's how you can get it from food. And then here's a few other ideas to go along with it. And then I have this huge area. To me, gluten is our foundation. That's kind of like, if you have no clue where to start, gluten is always the first place to begin. And if you already feel like you're going to be good at that, then you can start adding other pieces to it. But gluten for a lot of people can be really difficult and really confusing. So it's kind of why I have everybody start there. It's a big piece. So I have like this, I mean, that on its own is like its own little course by itself. But I have the tips and the guide that go with it. I have the master guide that explains and you become an expert with gluten. The sneaky Pete list, I will tell you, gluten hides everywhere. You will be shocked at the places that it will hide. One of the places that blew my mind, one of the places was vitamins that blew my mind. The other one was IHOP. There's a lot of restaurants like IHOP, and they actually put pancake batter in their scrambled eggs because it makes it fluffier. So if you go and you're like, oh, I can eat eggs, that would be perfectly safe. Unless you are actually having them make them fresh, like over easy or something like that. If you're eating them scrambled, odds are it's going to have wheat of some form in it because it makes it fluffier. What? It's crazy. So there's just a ton of different places like that. So I give you like the full list of all of the places to make sure that you don't get glutenized like I did. And then you have the why guide to go through those whys again with you to help you understand those deeper reasons. And so there's different, you know, pictures and things like that to help you see all of the details on that. And then there is the actual Hypothyroid Master Series. So all this stuff here are like the bonus guides and like the bonus materials that I've created to kind of help you along the way, right? So those are like a few of the additional resources. And then there is the actual Hypothyroid Master Series itself. So this is some of the stuff that we talk about. It's a 62 lesson course that goes through so many things. Like we're going to go through labs. We're going to go through the effects of inflammation and how to reduce it, what to look for. We're going to go through full details of liver health, full details of gut health. We're going to go through a comprehensive look of how everything works. Like you're going to get more detail on that full chain of, you know, starting in your hypothalamus to your pituitary gland, to your thyroid gland, and so on down the line. So I go through much deeper in that to help you understand that. We're going to talk about best ways to reverse Hashimoto's. I even go into more details on other root causes. So like Epstein-Barr, like viruses, Epstein-Barr, Lyme disease, things like that. You know, pregnancy, the MTHFR gene. I don't know if you know what that is, but like all of those different details. We go into the effects of sugar and how to balance your blood sugars. I mean, alcohol affects your health. I mean, all of these different things. So it goes through all of like just a ton of stuff that I've learned that all come down to food in some way, shape, or form, just to help you kind of, you know, take the mass internet and break it down into like this course to really help you get started. And I'm not saying that there's not missing pieces. There's so much out there that I have still yet to learn myself. And I just constantly add it to this course. So it's kind of living and breathing. As I learn more, if there's something else I pick up on, I add it to the material so that you guys all have that too. So there's your first option. And I want you to understand like how, you know, in terms of how this can help you, is it's literally years of research condensed down with no fluff. It's going to have loads and loads of different food lists and different categories. So like estrogen, estrogen dominance, liver health, gut health. I mean, just in so many different areas, you'll have different food lists. So I'm not just giving you a food list and saying, all right, here you go. I'm explaining why these foods are important and why we're addressing this particular topic of estrogen dominance or liver health or gut health or whatever the case is. So it's that deeper understanding of why, because I'm a true firm believer that when you understand why you're doing something, you are more likely and it's easier to stick to it. So I'm not just being demanding and telling you to do this. I'm explaining why, as you can kind of see in this web class. And then there's just tons of resources that just have a laid out plan for you to help you get moving right away. So you have this course and you can basically take this course and kind of run with it and do everything on your own. But I want to give you an additional option that goes along with this. And it's also an additional way that you can get my course entirely for free. And I'll go through and I'm going to explain to you why I find this so important. But at the end of the day, the additional piece or your additional options are basically having tools and resources that help you take everything you're going to learn and put it in motion to really, truly build a full, solid, healthy lifestyle in every area of thyroid health, right? So it helps you kind of put everything in motion. And this has to do with fitness and nutrition. And then with that, you get my Hypothyroid Master Series for free. So option number 2 is this direction of having these resources to put it in motion, because putting things in motion can be a little bit confusing when you're doing it by yourself. And yes, I do have the laid out plans for you and everything is like there, but physically having a system with nutrition and fitness both, because fitness is important to thyroid health as well. It actually stimulates your thyroid gland, but overdoing it with fitness is also an issue. So this gives you a way to have fitness in your life that's just incredible, but it's a way to make you decide on your own, like what is going to work, right? So putting things in motion can be difficult and confusing. And then when I started this road, I was actually kind of already using these resources. And over time, I started to discover just how perfect they are on this road. And they were a massive help for me, because honestly, I don't know how I would have done it without them, because they were part of this at the very beginning with me 4.5 years ago. So I kind of learned just from my own experience of, you know, trial and error and figuring things out and learning more and more and more, that I'm like, oh my God, this is like literally the perfect combination, because this fits everything that's perfect for thyroid health. And it just helps you really put everything into place. So meld together, they're just absolutely perfect. So I don't know if you know who Beachbody is, but yes, they are resources that come from Beachbody. So you might already know that I am a Beachbody coach, and I am a Beachbody coach for the specific reason that their tools helped me put so much of this stuff in motion, that these two things combined together changed everything for me. So I had the fitness that I needed. I had the method of nutrition to put it in play. And those things together just absolutely changed everything for me. And they put everything together. But their sole mission and their true mission is to help create solutions without any form of dieting. The dieting stuff that we talked about, all that stuff is gone. There is no form of dieting. They really truly help you balance out those macros with the system that I follow. And then their fitness is designed to be functional and effective. So we aren't hiring a personal trainer that doesn't understand thyroid disease, that they could actually push our adrenal health too far and make us feel worse, right? Love personal trainers. They're amazing. I love what they do, but they can. And if they don't fully understand thyroid health, they actually can make you feel worse. So we aren't hiring this personal trainer that doesn't understand that, where we have this library, and I'll show it all to you, but we have this library of programs that we get to decide where we are in our fitness level. And then as we gain energy, as we gain stronger, we have different options that we can move to, right? So I hope that kind of makes sense. So I want to give you a couple of success stories with the women who are in these groups with me, that use the Beachbody resources with me and have been on this road with me for a while. So this is Carrie. Love Carrie. She's one of my internet BFFs, that my daughter would say. So my doctor's appointment went so good. My labs are great. My bad cholesterol was down to normal and my good cholesterol was up higher, which she said was good. Thyroid levels are exactly where they are supposed to be. Doctor said perfect. She was happy with my weight loss since the last visit and glad to hear what I have been doing and how I feel compared to before. I asked her about stopping the levothyroxine and she said, yes, let's do it. So, but she said she wants to run labs again in 6 weeks just to make sure all is well, which I highly recommend. That's exactly what you do. So starting tomorrow, I will be going on this journey med-free. Yay. So excited. And I could not be more excited. And she is still medication-free to this day. I believe this was from a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago. And she's so excited. I know I've told you many times before, but I can't say enough. Thank you, Sue, for sharing your story, knowledge, and encouragement with all of us. Where I am today is because I found you and this lifestyle. And Carrie, you're the one that put in all the work. So I am so proud of you, and to be proud of yourself because it's just truly amazing. So then we have Sarah. Sarah's another challenger that's with us. She's amazing. I absolutely love Sarah. She inspires me every single day. So she's just confirming that this process actually works and that she hasn't felt this good in a long time. And her energy is great. Her mood is great. And it has proved so much. So she tells a little bit about her story. She also suffered from depression and acid reflux like I did. And she never realized that food affects us. She was just like me. She didn't understand how it affects us and how eating the right way can change things. So she came across me a while ago, which she's been with me, I think, for 2 years now. I realized that she wanted to make a change. And if you kind of continue to read, she said, no, well, I guess that's not, no, she did right there. I kept inquiring, but then would tell her no. So she told me no multiple times. But finally, she said yes. And she made the change and she continues to remain on this road. And she has had some really, really incredible progress. And I mean, she's correct, because if you decide to make that change now, truly imagine where you could be in a year. So here's another one, another great doctor's visit, being diagnosed with thyroid disease and diabetes. They lowered her thyroid meds and her doc is overwhelmed. And she has even made further progress since this particular comment here. So Shelly's amazing. This is from Shelly. He was so happy to see that she's having success. Her A1C went down from 7.2 to 6.3. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe she's even in the 5s now. So she's worked so hard for 2 years with barely any results. And here I am 3 weeks or so into my clean eating and finally results. Thank you for all you do to help everyone to be able to be free from this disease and to get results. You mean the world to me, and you mean the world to me, Shelly, for sharing what you have found that actually works. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And so you guys, they're not the only ones. We've got Jamie, who's also actually gone off of medication. And then there's a doctor's appointment today. That was Amy with her endo, and she's officially off of medications as well. And they're checking her again in 3 months, which is exactly what you should do. And it's been 4.5 years for me, and I still check myself yearly. So just some really, really incredible stories. And these are women who have combined both resources, right? So you can do the Hypothyroid Master Series entirely on your own. And, you know, I'm not pushing you one way or the other. I'm simply giving you the options that if you want everything, you just want to kind of run with it on yourself, that's an option. But if you want to have some extra tools to do it with you and kind of walk this road with you and have those resources, you can go this direction as well. All right, so let's talk about these resources just a little bit, because fitness is such an important piece. I'm going to just double check that we do not have any questions. So we are good. All right, so fitness. So fitness is really, really important to our thyroid health. It helps stimulate the thyroid function, but overdoing it can be trouble. So with what we use, you get to choose your fitness level that fits your needs. You get to choose what you like. Do you like to dance? Do you like using weights? Do you like cardio? Do you like ballet, yoga? I mean, what is it that you like? You actually get to choose, and I will show you more. So you get to work up as you gain energy and get stronger, and it saves you time because it's all from home or anywhere you have Wi-Fi. So if you're a gym lover and you love the gym, you can totally use this at the gym as well. So anywhere you have Wi-Fi, you can access your workouts. So it's basically like Netflix for the fitness world. So this is a visual of what it looks like. It's called Beachbody On Demand, and it literally is a huge library of fitness programs. And you guys, to give you an idea of variety, we even have maternity. If that tells you anything at all, that is how much variety we have. So anything, I don't care what it is that you like, we will have something for you. And I don't care if you haven't worked out in 10 years, we will have something for you. And I don't care if you're an all-star athlete, we will have something for you, and everything in between. The variety is absolutely insane. And then our newer ones, what's really cool in the last like 2 years, the newest model is when they put out the new programs, there's no repeats. So we get about 4 new programs per year. And we had one this summer, and it was a 100-day program, and it was 100 days of different workouts. So you didn't repeat a workout at all the entire time. That's what's so cool about everything being online, is you don't ever get bored. You won't ever plateau because you're not doing the same thing over and over and over again, right? And it's simple. It's all in home. It streams anywhere you have Wi-Fi, and it's just thousands and thousands of dollars worth of programs. All right, so let's move on to the nutrition side. So Beachbody also has the nutrition system that I physically follow. And as I mentioned earlier, there can be a lot of confusion in what does balance mean? Do I stand on like one foot? Like, how do I balance nutrition? That can be confusing because the portion sizes are different with like vegetables compared to healthy fats, or proteins and healthy fats and so on. So portion sizes are different. And then also like how much of each one should you be eating, right? And then based on your goals, are you wanting to lose weight? Are you wanting to maintain? Or are you wanting to gain weight? So based upon the goals that you have, like how much and how do you even do this, right? So that's why this system is so perfect, because it lays out that perfect balance for you based on the goals that you have. And it takes that confusion out of it. So it's a container system, right? And you can see they're different sizes. That's where like the portion size comes in terms of a portion of healthy fat compared to a portion of vegetables or proteins or carbs, things like that. And basically this system, you do a couple calculations, which takes literally like 20 seconds, and that tells you where you need to be. And I know those containers look kind of small and you're like, oh, that's what I'm eating from, but you get multiple containers of those throughout the day. And I'm telling you, you're never going to be hungry, because number one, you're going to balance your blood sugars with this system. Number two, I promise you it's enough food. And more often than not, I hear I can't even eat all this food. So I promise you, you're not going to go hungry. But this system it's a tutorial system. So it comes with a huge, library of videos that teach you how to use the system forever. So it teaches you how to use it effectively, and how to use it forever. So if you have, let's say, a wedding coming up, right, it's going to show you what to do and how to adjust to kind of have like an extra slim down leading up to that special moment, right? And then how to go back to just kind of using it every single day for the rest of your life. It has a cooking show, so you're never going to be short on recipes, thousands and thousands of recipes, all of which can be customized. I know we have a lot of food sensitivities, a lot of allergies and things like that we naturally have. This entire system is 100% customizable. So if we're avoiding gluten, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to have gluten using the system. You simply adjust just a tiny little tweak and you're good to go. So it's fully customizable, and I don't care if you had any form of allergies or sensitivities, you can absolutely still use this system. And it gives you hundreds and hundreds of recipes, and even a cooking show that goes with it. And then there's tracking guides and things like that to help you along the way as well. And then there's a bonus nutritional component. Some of you may have heard about Shakeology. You may have heard that name before. I have been using Shakeology for 4.5 years, and I'll be totally honest with you. When I first started using it, I thought for sure I was going to be returning the bag. And here I am 4.5 years in. Shakeology is pure nutrition, and I could spend hours talking about it, but it is literally real food, and it is the pure definition of a nutrition shake. It has protein in it, but it's not meant to be a protein shake in any way. It is meant to be a nutrition shake, and it's extremely nutritious and has a lot of really great endocrine supporting, that's the word I was looking for, ingredients. So let me share just a little bit about it. So it is entirely gluten-free. It is also soy-free. It is free from any form of fillers. So it has like no nitrates, no nitrites. It's non-GMO. Like there's literally zero fillers. It is all real food. The one that I recommend that we all use is vegan. So it's dairy-free as well. And it's literally real superfoods from around the world. So like ashwagandha and maca and spirulina and chlorella and just all of these extremely nutritious foods are what you're going to find inside Shakeology. And then the other part that comes along with it is the community. So you have our support. We have a group on Facebook, and if you're not on Facebook, we have an app that you can use as well. But our main group is on Facebook, and we are a group of women on this road together. We understand each other, and having that connection and have that bond can like change this road for you entirely, because you don't feel alone anymore, right? So here's just kind of a quick overview of what you're going to get if you decide to go this direction with having the resources along with the Hypothyroid Master Series. You get the entire fitness library with full access for an entire year, unlimited access. You get forever access to the nutrition program if you decide on that choice. You get a 30-day supply to try Shakeology, no matter what direction you decide to go. And then you have the community and the support with women like us, right? And the number one reason why people don't get started on really improving their health, and they look for the quick fix and they look for the diets, and why diets are so appealing, is because they want a system. And there's a huge reason why they don't really get started on a solid, healthy, long-term lifestyle is because they want that quick fix and they don't have that system to follow to help them really do it long-term. And so what they're following then with the diet is not sustainable. They end up falling off because it becomes too hard, right? Or because they start feeling different because they're following a diet they shouldn't be dieting, or because they're leaving those holes in the nutrition and they start not feeling right. So they quit and they give up, right? So this gives you a full system to actually follow. So when you add it all together, you can get the fitness and you can have the nutrition program, the 30-day supply of Shakeology, the community, and support from all of us, me as your coach that comes along with it. And then you have the Hypothyroid Master Series when you put all of that together. So if you really kind of break things down and you think about it, and all this did was just kind of help you learn more about thyroid health and help you prevent future issues, right? If that's all this did, would that be worth it? If all it did was give you loads and loads of insight on how to use food to improve your symptoms and how you feel, and it took you down a direction where you start to, feel better, because how long it takes is different for everybody. For me, I felt a difference within a matter of weeks, and as time went on, I felt more and more better. And as time went on, I started seeing more and more of my symptoms subside, right? So I started off 2 weeks, I was physically feeling better, but a year down the road, all of a sudden I could see my hair growing back, right? And then all this stuff in between that was happening along the way. So this is a long-term, like forever process that you can look at to really help get you on the right path, where you just continue to build on the healthy lifestyle that you're following. So if that's all that did for you, would that process be worth it? So I'm not going to tell you that this road is easy. This road is hard, but you know what? Dealing with hypothyroidism and the symptoms that come along with it, that's hard too. And sometimes you have to choose the hard that you're willing to work for. And they take the same amount of energy, right? So are you willing to work hard to feel your best? And if that's all this helped you like get on track and get you, moving and get you going with it, I really think that would be worth it, right? And if it allowed you to save time and have tons of resources for fitness, or if it taught you how to eat without dieting long-term, right? And helped you get your health on track. Oh, darn. If that's all that it did for you, right? I guarantee you it does a lot more. And I hope you can see, like, from the very moment that we started this webinar up until now, I hope you can see how all of this has really completely changed my health. So not only have I gained all this knowledge that I did with my research for years and years and years that I can share with you, but I also had the tools to help me put it in play and to help me keep me going. So I went from, having all this excess weight, being completely exhausted and just not being who I wanted to being so strong and so energetic. And on the right side, you'll see there's kind of a little idea of what our fitness programs look like. They're just absolutely incredible. And so this is not how much it's going to be, right? I want to make that clear. If you bought everything on its own, so if you bought the Hypo Master Series, the nutrition, fitness, and superfoods, you bought everything individually, it would be well over $500. But if you decide that the Hypothyroid Master Series is the only thing you want, you just want to run with it on your own, and you want to go that direction, it's $147, and that gets you everything that you saw with the Hypothyroid Master Series. All right. But if you want to go with option number 2 and you want to get my Hypothyroid Master Series for free, you can choose one of these 3 options. Now, I want to make sure that you guys know that these 3 options are only available in the US, the UK, and Canada. It's coming soon in France, but so far as of right now, we are only available in those 3 areas. So if you're outside of those 3 areas, the Hypothyroid Master Series, option number 1, is the direction that you would want to go. But you can choose to focus just on fitness. And so if you focus just on fitness, you get all of the fitness, you get 30 days of our shake, and then you get a basic nutrition plan, but it's not the deep dive. It's just a very basic, here's a few recipes, here's an idea of, how to eat, and that type of thing. So you can go that direction. And if you feel like you have nutrition in place, that's a great direction to go. Option number 2, you can choose to be nutrition focused. So if you feel like, I'm just not ready for exercise, or maybe you're a gym girl, maybe you absolutely just love going to the gym, you don't want to do any form of workout at home, you don't want the fitness, then this option number 2, being nutrition focused, is a perfect option. And that gives you the full deep dive into nutrition and how to use that system forever. And then option number 3 on the right is literally all of it combined. So you get the entire fitness library, you get on the entire nutrition program, all of it combined together with the nutrition shake, and you get everything for a huge discounted price of $219. And then there's the link right there if you decide that you want to go. I have all 4 of these options spread out right there on that link. So you literally can just choose which one you want. And then it will have buttons below to tell you what to do in order to obtain that option. Just as an example, the one on the right, getting everything, I have to send you a custom link because there's an extra bonus discount I can add in there for you. And I can't do that with the link that's already created. So I kind of create a custom link for you to help you save as much as I possibly can on that option. So I have to create that for you. So that's when you need to contact me. But the fitness focused and the nutrition focused, those are 2 that you can actually just order right then and there if you are ready to go. And then there's an option for you to reach out to me if you have questions that you would like to review. And then also the option for getting the Hypothyroid Master Series entirely on its own. So at this point, truly you have 2 choices. You can just continue what you're doing and you can do nothing and not take the leap of faith, and you can stay just on the path that you're on. And that is absolutely entirely risk-free, right? But the second option, you can invest in your health, you can invest in yourself, and you can invest in the future you. And guess what? That is also 100% risk-free, because Beachbody has, and I do, we all have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you start this process and you're like, what, I freaking hate this stuff. This process is terrible. The fitness is awful. I just don't like it. It's just not me. You can totally return it for a refund. So no matter what you decide to do, it's risk-free on your part. So I think that's a really important piece of the puzzle. So the real question is, do you really want the tools and what it's going to take to not just build a healthy lifestyle, but to build a healthy lifestyle that is tailored towards us, that really helps us put everything in play? And it's not a diet. It's not something that's a short term. It's not something that's going to, fade away and go away. And then suddenly all kinds of, awful information is going to come out about it, how it's dangerous for your health. And that's not going to happen, because this is a real food balanced nutrition method that is a way of eating that is extremely healthy for the body and fueling the body correctly, but also adding that component for having the thyroid information takes it to another level of understanding how you should tweak and adjust the foods that you're using within that system to make it thyroid healthy. And then you're getting and gaining all of that knowledge that goes along with it so that you can prevent future issues, so that you can start digging further into the root causes that you had. Because like I said, I had multiple ones, so most likely you will too. And that's very, very common to have more than one. So you can start really digging and learning more, and you can understand your labs and go in smarter than your doctor, honestly. And sadly, that's true. I've had several people that say they went in feeling so confident about their labs that they knew what to ask for. And even though their doctor was like, no, we don't need to run those, they're like, yeah, we do. And they did. And they would come to, now they can see their T3 is low. They are actually creating antibodies. They do have Hashimoto's. And now they can start addressing things correctly because they went in with the knowledge that they needed. So here's where we're at. This is the full value of everything and what you actually get if you decide that you want to jump on board and use any of these resources to really get your health on track. And I hope you learned something today. I hope that I gave you a way to get started, whether you join us or not. I really hope I gave you a way to jumpstart your health and really to find the right track to get you moving forward, because that's something that's so important to me. need a place to start. You just have to start and move forward and keep going. And I want to give, the people that want those resources and want that option there for them, that's what this stuff is for. So if you just want that thyroid knowledge, then you've got the Hypothyroid Master Series. If you want all of that in the community and you want the resources to put it all in play, then you have those options as well. So if they're not for you, that's totally okay. I hope you learned something today, and I hope you found a ton of value in what we went through today. But I also want to give you a way to, put it in play if you need to. All right, so let's check and see. Thank you. You gave me some good options to think about. God bless. And you're so welcome, Jennifer. I hope you found it helpful. All right, so I will stay on for just a minute, just in case we have any questions that might pop up. And I will answer anything that you have. We'll give it just a second. And if not, we will call it a night. I have no idea how long I went. I feel like I probably went forever. Did I go an hour 45? Holy cow, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to go that long. Oh my gosh. I seriously could talk about this stuff forever. I did not mean to go that long. I'm so sorry. So great info. Thank you. After a few years of watching from the sidelines, I'm ready to jump in. I literally just bought the 2B mindset and bar workout. So excited, Lisa. It's 2B is really, really fantastic. That is a wonderful, wonderful program. It's a little bit different than, I would say it's also balanced, but it's just a little bit different in its structure. It's more loose. Like it's more, how would I describe it? It's more of, it's more mental principles, right? Like you kind of have more mental principles to follow. It still talks about balance. It still goes through all of the macros and making sure that you have a little bit of everything. It just addresses it. So it comes in from like a different direction, and it's a little bit less structure. So that is also a really, really fantastic program. You're gonna absolutely love it. So make sure that you're in our community. I don't know which Lisa that is, because that's all I see is Lisa. But make sure that you are in our community. So if you're not in our community yet, send me an email so I can get you added in. And that might be it. So if there are other questions, just simply go to that link that you see at the bottom of your screen. Oh, yep. Yep, I remember. Okay, Lisa, I know who you are. I didn't see your last name on there, so I didn't know what Lisa that we have. So yeah, and that's perfect. Honestly, I actually use the mental principles for 2B mindset as well. I don't like telling people they need to have both, because I feel like that's just like pushing them into, too much. I don't really like that. But I do love the mental principles of 2B mindset, and I do actually use both of them together. So the portion fix is the foundation to how I eat, but then I use the mental principles to kind of help me, through the moments. I would actually say, so they're awesome together. So I love that you have both, because they really are perfect together. Yeah. So, all right. So I don't see any other questions popping up. And if you guys do have questions, you can just simply go to this link, and then my contact information will be right there, and you can simply email me, and I will be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you for sticking with me for almost 2 hours, you guys. Oh my gosh, I did not expect it to take that long. But I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. So we'll chat soon, guys. Bye.